What's up, Facebook peeps? It's BT Robertson here again. A little bit of a different video this time. I had to kind of do this one in front of the camera like this because I don't like to be in front of the camera like this, but you know, gotta do what I gotta do. So I'm here with my Beretta A300 Extrema 12 gauge semi-automatic shotgun that I've been using since I bought it. There's another video here that I'll link to that is basically the unboxing and all that, but I hadn't shot it at that point. Well, I'm here to tell you that I've shot it, I've taken game with it, and I've been out in the woods with it, and you can barely tell. If it weren't for all the scratches on this gel pad, this is a Beretta gel pad for this gun. It's got some really deep gouges and cuts in it from walking through all the brush and briars. So I'm like that. I don't hunt small game with dog. I am the dog, and I'm pretty proud of that. And I take my fair share of small game. I don't let the dogs do all the work. And yes, that is a challenge to anyone who thinks that they're a good hunter. Go without your dogs one of these times and see if you can take the same amount of game or any game at all without your dogs, because it's certainly a whole different style of hunting. So there's my challenge to you. So I'm just going to cycle this to show you it is empty. Okay, lock it back, do a chamber check, and of course the magazine, no problem there. And so I'm going to assist this forward, okay, like so. And basically, the reason for this video is not just a follow-up and a challenge to hunt small game more difficult. It's great if you have a best friend that you take hunting in a canine. My dog, I can't go hunting with her because she's a boxer and she's not really bred for the woods. She's also afraid of the loud crack of the gun when it goes off. So she's a great dog. I love her very much, but she's not the best for hunting. So I'll have to wait down the road to get a hunting buddy. But be that as it may, the reason why I want to do this video is I want to do a full breakdown of this, all the way down to even taking out the trigger group, because there's not a video on YouTube that exists that shows that. For the A300 Extrema 12 gauge, you'll find them for the A400, you'll find them for the A300 Outlander, but it's not the same. It's a little different. So there's some stuff on it that's not the same. So any of you who have the A300 Extrema that can't find any information, I feel you. So hopefully you guys will get something out of this, because I learned how to do it just by watching a hodgepodge of other videos and trying it myself. In fact, this is the second take of this video, because the first time I did it, I put the trigger back in wrong and I couldn't get the bolt. Once I locked it back, I couldn't get it to go forward. So there's just some things you have to watch out for. So hopefully this will be educational, and I've got a couple types of gun oil. I have the Beretta gun oil that came with it. I'm not going to do a cleaning today because I've already cleaned it and oiled it. And then I have some Birchwood Casey synthetic oil to show you guys. This stuff is really good. I use it in my rifle, both of my rifles, and I don't know, it seems like without that oil, the bolts just don't glide as nice. This stuff here, the bolts glide like butter. So this Birchwood Casey, you'll find it at Cabela's, you'll find it pretty much anywhere that sells gun oil. You'll see it sitting there. I would not pass it up. You can do a lot worse. That's really good gun oil. So first thing we're going to do is, if you're going to clean the barrel, of course, you got to take out your choke tube. So I am going to take out, plus you want to clean your barrel. You want to, I'm tightening it, sorry. You definitely want to take out your choke tube to get in between, you know, these, the carbon and the dirt. They certainly figure out ways to get in there. Plus you want to clean the threads and you want to oil them. So, and I've done that. I've taken a little finger of oil and just rub it around the threads before I put my choke tube in. Obviously, if you're in the field and you can't do that, don't fret. I just do it before, especially if I'm going to put it away for the winter. I'm going to be hunting small game all winter with this guy, so I'm probably not going to be all that worried about it for now. But, all right, let's get started. So, let's unscrew the end cap. Pretty simple. Okay. Slide off the foregrip. I mean, everybody has seen this. They're easy to break down, but there's more to it. Pull the barrel out like so. They also recommend not disassembling the gas piston unless you know what you're doing as far as a gunsmith. I am not a gunsmith. I'm not a self-proclaimed gunsmith. I don't pretend to be a gunsmith, so I will not be taking apart this gas piston assembly for you, because they say don't do it unless you're a good gunsmith. So That's why I'm following their rules. Now, to pull this bolt out, you see you can't because of the charging handle is in the way. So there's a way to pull it out. So once you have the bolt here, when you push it down, okay, it does this because it's a rotating bolt head. So what the manual tells you to do is push it down to about where it's flush. Now I've found it's a little bit further down than that, so push it down and wiggle the handle and you'll find the sweet spot. Right about, come on, right there. Because it goes in like a key. You probably won't be able to see it or if this will focus in on it, but it looks like a key. And what I mean is it's a round post or a round shank, and then there's a little post at the top. Okay, so it looks like a key, and when you push that bolt head down, it rotates the section and it lines up. So it's the best way I can describe it. So you got to push this bolt head down to pull out the charging handle. Once you pull out the charging handle, voila, there's your bolt. Now there are disassembly, I've seen online some videos for disassembling this, but again, it's not in the manual. There's no disassembly instructions for actually how to do it. In fact, I think they say to take it to a certified gunsmith if you're going to take apart that. I'm going to wipe this oil off here just so I don't get it all over myself, and I'll re-oil it to show you where I oil on these things, because again, there's no instructions in the manual. It says to lubricate, doesn't say where. It doesn't show a diagram showing oil points. You know, Beretta, listen, I love you guys, but when you bring your guns to the States, you got to educate us Americans a little bit more. So that's basically it. Just a rail assembly with a spring. You don't have to take any of this apart. If you need to, you can clean in there, but I've never seen any debris even get inside there. It's mainly the bolt that gets covered because it's exposed here in the breech. And so you can wipe all this out of here, all the debris, all of that. But now you're saying, well, I still can't get really all the way in there because of the trigger and the carriage is in the way. Okay, there's a way to take it out. Right above the safety, there's a single pin. Okay, you might not be able to see it on this video. Single pin, there's no screws. The only tools you need to do a full disassembly in this regard is a punch. And I use a rubber mallet just because it makes it so much easier. Basically, now I don't have one of those fancy little round plastic tools to get pins out, but I just prop it up on a thick rag like so. You line up your push pin. Make sure your safety is on. Make sure it's engaged so you can't pull the trigger. Because when this comes out, the hammer's there. If you pull the trigger and the hammer flies, things are going to go everywhere. You could lose springs, you could lose all kinds of stuff. So they say to be sure that you have your safety on. It has nothing to do with, obviously in this condition, the gun can't fire, but it's mainly because of disassembly. So you can see, you can just push the pin out, pops right out, okay, and down comes your trigger assembly. Now look at that. Probably can't see too well, but you can get your rag all up in there, all the way to the very, very back. You can get down in here and blow it out with canned air. There's some debris on here from when I cleaned it before, like just seeds and all that kind of, all those stickers. You know, you get those stickers that stick on your clothes. We have a lot of those here in PA when you're walking through the fields hunting pheasants and rabbits, and it can really get thorns. I've had thorns in here because we have a lot of greenbrier and some of that purple stuff in there. I'm just making sure everything's all good back in there because it can get a little packed in. In fact, I do see a little bit back in there packed in. There we go. Wait a minute. See oh, there we go. That did it. That's what I mean. If you have some, maybe a canned air, you can put on the list of parts of stuff that you need to clean it. Basically, your cleaning apparatus. Main tool is your punch. You need no screwdrivers. It's all basically toolless. And clean all that out of there. Get all that debris out. Blow it out. That's it. This is your magazine tube. One thing I wanted to note about this. This plastic cap is easily broken. I've broken the first one. In fact, the night that I bought it, after I did that unboxing video, I broke this. See this window right here? If you can see it, there's a little window in the metal, in the tube. Basically, there's a tab, and you push that tab down and it pops the cap off. But this is under extreme pressure. I mean, you can't pull this out with your hands. Try it, you can't. There's a real thin lip, and there's really no way to get a hold of it. There's no hole in the end. You can't get a hold of it. what you have to do is kind of get a screwdriver in there and pop it out like this, or push that tab down. Well, the first time I pushed that tab down, I forced it so hard I broke the tab. So now the plastic cap didn't stay in the end, and the spring was shooting my plug and the cap. I mean, it was dangerous around here for a while. It was like popping champagne corks. I mean, it was a little dangerous. So be very careful. I ordered a couple new ones from Brownell. They have a whole A300 Extrema parts list and breakdown. You can even buy the Kickoff Extrema 2 recoil system for the stock here. I think it's $359.99 retail on their site if you do need, or if your particular A300 doesn't have the Kickoff system, but it enables you to install one. You can certainly do that. This definitely has it. I cannot tell you how amazing the recoil is of this thing. And I'll tell you, I'll get into more of that when we're done. So I'll try to remind myself. But basically that's it. There's the main body, your trigger, grouping and safety, your bolt assembly, and then your barrel with your gas piston and your some of your your breech. When you slide this in, I'm going to clean this out too, because you can oil this up a little bit as well. And I bought a Hops bore snake to clean out this shotgun, and I tell you what, this barrel has never been cleaner. I ran it through. I mean, it's like glass in there. I mean, it just looks amazing. Those bore snakes from Hops, and I'm not sponsored by Hops. I'm just telling you, when a product works good, you can clean the inside of the piston. You can see it's hollow in here. So you can clean it. It definitely gets dirty, especially after a long day of shooting. When I went and broke this in, it was dirty. I mean, the gas, that's one thing with the gas pistons that they might not tell you. They get dirtier quicker. I mean, you figure it's venting all that gas and stuff to work this system. And there's vent ports. You can even see the vent ports in the 4 stock. There's 3 that come up on each side. When the barrel sits here, you can kind of see 3 slits. So that's where the gas actually vents. But the inside of this foregrip can get very, very, very dirty. On top of the magazine tube, all across the top of this piston assembly inside of it, very, very dirty. But again, if you're out shooting trap, just come home and clean it. Make sure you clean it. Make sure you clean your gun. If you clean your gun, it'll last you, hopefully it should last you forever with good care. And it'd give you something to pass down to your kids, because I'd love to be able to give these to my son. He's the one that's probably going to be hunting, not my daughter. It's not because she's a girl, it's just because I don't think she really has any interest in hunting. So, now for reassembly and oiling. Now, one thing I want to tell you about the oiling, you want to oil, and again, this isn't in the manual. The trigger group, you oil this spring right inside here. This is your hammer right there. This is part of the trigger mechanism. This is your carriage right here. This sliding mechanism, so you can kind of oil in here. Oil the springs, definitely. Drop a few down along the side parts here. Get your, I like this Birchwood Casey. Nothing against Beretta gun oil at all. But I like this Birchwood Casey oil. I have a feeling that there's just something about the formula. I don't really have, there we go. I don't have nails, but the only problem is you got to watch the flow. It can get a little fast. It doesn't take much pressure to drop a few drops of oil in and around there. So get your oil in there like that. Just a few drops. That's all you need. You don't want to over lube. That's true on any gun. You don't want to over lube it. Basically goes in reverse. Back first, like this. Okay. So come back, line up your stuff, like so. Make sure everything works. Okay. Push this thing down and make sure it seats. Before it wasn't seated. So I'm going to do that again. Let me do that again. I'm going to click it. Push this in. It doesn't seat the whole way. This is what I did wrong in the first video. You'll see a little silver in there because it's not all the way down. This is your release, and now it snugs right back in there. It's right at the bottom of the carriage return, a little silver square nub. You push that down, and everything seats in there real good. I always put my pins back in the way that I took them out. So if they go this way to come out, they go back this way to come in. So hold everything together like so. Get your rubber mallet. Tap it down flush, and you're done. That's it. I'm on safe. Take your bolt. Cross your magazine tube. There's a couple little guide holes on the side of right there. Now before that goes in, Take a little oil because it does slide along these rails here. A little oil there. A little oil there. And it doesn't take much. Slide it back in. Take your charging handle. I don't think it's called a charging handle. Terminology has been my bane of these videos. Put a little oil on that, can't hurt. Push the bolt head down until it lines up, and you'll see the way that it lines up. Perfect. It's easier going in than coming out. All set, and it actually works this time. Okay, whoops. You gotta there we go. And you don't need to oil this spring. They say, there's no need to oil it. It's such a big spring. Wipe any excess oil that comes off, because there is. Very exposed in there. I mean, you can really see in there. So when you're walking through the fields and you have a lot of debris, it can get you. Now, before I put the barrel in, there's some parts up in here that you can oil. I always oil the top, just a little bit across the top. And then what I do with my finger is I just take my finger like this. Very easy. That way it doesn't glop up in places, and if you need a little more, just grab a little more on your finger and just kind of oil inside here. Like I said, this isn't really mainly for, if you're going out this afternoon. If I was going out this afternoon to hunt, wouldn't do this. No need to. This is more for long-term storage. Just get the metal, get all the metal, all that exposed metal in there, get inside the chamber. And then basically you just, first we have to lock this back. Push that down again, lock it back. Makes it easy. Make sure there's no debris. Line it up. And line it up again. And you're all set. Take your foregrip. Slide it down on. Cap. Nice snug. And we're set. Work it about 10 times. That's what I always do. 5 to 10 times. Get that oil in there dispersed. And then I always lock it back one final time just to check. Because sometimes after working the bolt, you'll see little deposits of whatever that it might have worked loose. I always get a rag in there, wipe it out. I don't know, just a tip. I've noticed, sometimes it'll pull some of that debris where maybe you didn't see it or whatever. Assist it going forward. And here's what the manual tells you to do. Take the safety off. This is for long-term storage or whatever. If you want to, because the hammer's cocked and it'll stay cocked and it just leaves pressure on the spring. Take the safety off, of course, noting that you don't have any rounds in here. Pull the bolt back about 1/2 inch. Pull the trigger. The hammer smacks the firing pin, but it's away from, like so. You're ready to rock and roll. So that is basically how I store it. The safety is off, but it's because the hammer has been disengaged. That's how the manual tells you to do it, and that's how I do it. And maybe one of these other videos, if I get a chance, there's a really nifty way that you can unload this, basically using this button. And so if you have tubes, you eject the shell that's in your chamber, lock it back, lock your bolt back, eject the shell, and then you basically push the carriage carrier up, and it'll lock in place. And then you push this button, and those rounds just come flying right out of the magazine. Really nice and easy way. Instead of sitting there cycling it, however many times, to get your 3 shells out, or 5 if you've taken the plug out and you're hunting with deer. Some of our counties here in Pennsylvania allow semi-automatic shotguns in deer seasons. You can have 4 in the magazine and 1 up the pipe if you want. And that's it. Now, as far as how it shoots, like I said, the recoil, unbelievable. I mean, it shoots. One thing I mentioned in the other video that I haven't mentioned yet because I really wanted to get right to the cleaning. If you want to turn me off now, you can. But the Extrema 2 system in this stock, the piston, I have not replaced the butt pad, and I'm not planning to. It does not need a limb saver. It barely kicks. I mean, my wife shot this, and she was like, whoa, I can't believe it. I have a double barrel side-by-side old English-style shotgun, 20 gauge. It kicks harder than this. I kid you not, it kicks harder than this. And so it's a very, very comfortable gun. It'll give you a lot of confidence if you're out there. And as far as the loads, I've not shot a 3-inch through it or a 3.5. I don't plan on shooting a 3.5. I don't hunt waterfowl. The 3-inch, I did buy some Magnum turkey loads, but I didn't see a turkey in the fall. Hopefully in the spring I'll be able to get a turkey. But I have not shot a 3-inch round through this yet. I want to take it to the range and maybe shoot a box through it just to really break it in good, get the bolt broken in. But when I first bought this, I took 3 boxes of 2 3/4, 7.5 shot. I think it was 7/8 or maybe even an ounce. They were an ounce shots, and shot 75, all 75 through this, and it did not cycle properly one of those shells. I had a mix between Federal and Winchester, but they were target loads, low brass, 2 3/4, 75 rounds, not one time. And I was starting to get really, really bummed out. But when I went hunting, I don't use those loads. I use 5 shot, 6 shot. A lot of times they're high brass. I got Prairie Storms from Federal Premium. I had a gift card, and I got a box of 25 for 10 bucks. They're normally 20. I got 50% off the box, so 20 bucks is what they cost for 25 shells. Not horrible, but they're 1,500 feet per second, high brass, 5 shot for pheasants, and I used them for rabbit and squirrel, and they were fine. They didn't tear anything apart. I was able to salvage the meat just fine, so no problem there. But they're 2 3/4, and they cycled perfect every single time. So thumbs up to Prairie Storm. I'm certainly not sponsored by Federal, or I'm not sponsored by anybody, just so you know. I'm just a regular guy doing videos to help others out there that are buying guns that there's no information on like me. So the Prairie Storms, absolutely highly recommended. They shoot fantastic. They low recoil, and they take down the game. I had no issues taking down my pheasants with the Prairie Storms or anything else that I pretty much pointed at and shot. So I would highly recommend those in this to break it in, because they're a little higher energy. They definitely cycle the bolt, and they eject properly, and they also chamber another round properly. I just put it in my choke tube. It'll shoot lead or steel shot, but it will tell you on the choke tube if you can shoot steel through it. You can't shoot steel through the full choke. It'll even say it on there. It says no steel on the full choke. Up to the modified, it will. Improved cylinder, modified, and then I think there's the improved modified. I don't have one of those. I just have improved cylinder, modified, and full choke, and improved modified, I think, are the two that you can't. So the more restricted, the less you can use the steel shot through it. You'd have to get an approved choke tube, probably an aftermarket like a Carlson's or a Heavy Shot. I'm getting a Heavy Shot turkey choke that will shoot steel up to 1,550 feet per second. Now that's most of your steel shots that are high brass are 1,550. I think the Remington high velocities that are 1,700. That's a no-no. You're not going to be able to shoot those, at least not through these choke tubes. These are the Optima HPs. I think I mentioned that on the other video. And so far, I mean, I've had no problems. I have the modified installed, and it's taken down everything that I've needed. It hasn't obliterated my small game. You know, it's still edible, and but yet it doesn't. You know, they don't kind of limp away, and you need to take more shots at them. One shot has put down the game with Prairie Storm and with this awesome shotgun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. There's my challenge to you. So I'm just going to cycle this just to show you it is empty. Okay, lock it back, do a chamber check, and of course the magazine, no problem there. And so I'm going to assist this forward. Okay, like so. And basically, the reason for this video is not just a follow-up and a challenge to hunt small game, more difficult. It's great if you have a best friend that you take hunting and a canine. My dog, I can't go hunting with her because she's a boxer and she's not really bred for the woods. She's also afraid of the loud crack of the gun. And even you can barely tell. If it weren't for all the scratches on this gel pad, this is a gel pad for this gun. It's got some really deep gouges and cuts in it from walking through all the brush and briars. So I'm like that. I don't hunt small game with dog. I am the dog, and I'm pretty proud of that. and I take my fair share of small game. I don't let the dogs do all the work. And yes, that is a challenge to anyone who thinks that they're a good hunter. Go without your dogs one of these times and see if you can take the same amount of game or any game at all without your dogs, because it's certainly a whole different style of hunting. So you guys will get something out of this, because I learned how to do it just by watching a hodgepodge of other videos and trying it myself. In fact, this is the second take of this video, because the first time I did it, I put the trigger back in wrong and I couldn't get the bolt. Once I locked it back, I couldn't get it to go forward. So there's just some things you have to watch out for. So hopefully this will be educational. And I've got a couple types of gun oil. I have the Beretta gun oil that came with it. I'm not going to do a cleaning today because I've already cleaned it and oiled it. And then I have some Birchwood Casey synthetic oil to show you guys. This stuff is really good. I use it in my rifle, both of my rifles. And what's up, Facebook peeps? It's PT Robertson here again. A little bit of a different video this time. I had to kind of do this one in front of the camera like this, because I don't like to be in front of the camera like this, but you know, gotta do what I gotta do. So I'm here with my Beretta A300 Extrema 12 gauge semi-automatic shotgun that I've been using since I bought it. There's another video here that I'll link to that is basically the unboxing and all that, but I hadn't shot it at that point. Well, I'm here to tell you that I've shot it. I've taken game with it, and I've been out in the woods with it, and you can't when it goes off. So she's a great dog. I love her very much, but she's not the best for hunting, so I'll have to wait down the road to get a hunting buddy. But be that as it may, the reason why I want to do this video is I want to do a full breakdown of this, all the way down to even taking out the trigger group, because there's not a video on YouTube that exists that shows that. For the A300 Extrema 12 gauge, you'll find them for the A400, you'll find them for the A300 Outlander, but it's not the same. It's a little different. So there's some stuff on it that's not the same. So any of you who have the A300 Extrema that can't find any information, I feel you. So hopefully